I'm Dan Galusha, and welcome to another edition of Dan's Fishing Tales. What are we going to do today? Not really sure, but I'm going to start out with some baits that I think will catch something. One of them is called a drop shad. Now that is put out by Natural Forage Baits. It's just like this. I use this for a larger finger jigging. You can see how the tail acts. That's what I want for finger jigging. And I got that on a bee fishing head. And I'm using a 7.5 foot 75 series B&M rod, and with the matching reel. That's one thing I'm using. The other is going to be my big old rod here. This is actually a salmon rod when it comes right down to it, but I use this an 8.5 foot. They're put out by Berkeley, and I'm using a what's they call it? It's a swim bait. And it's one that's put out by Bee Fishing. It's a Pulse R, they call it. And again, I'm using the Bee Fishing jig head, the H2O head. So I'm going to get out there, make some casts, see what we'll have happen here. And as I said, I really don't know. And the sun's in a different direction. It's 90-some degrees out. We'll see what happens. Casting right against the wind, and we got one on right in the weed. Oh, he's off. Well, that was on that Pulse R, that Bee Fishing Pulse R, so we'll see what else we can get with it. I hate casting a casting reel into the wind. You know something? We're going to switch locations. I'm down in a boat ramp area now, and closer to one of the spillway areas. We're going to see what happens down here. The wind's in a little bit different direction. I was having a lot of hits up there, but the weeds were driving me nuts. So let's see what happens. Well, we got one small one. And having a lot of hits. I mean, this one's small. I got one, but he's down a weed. A little bit bigger than the last one. Well, I'll tell you, they're taking it. There's no doubt. I mean, they're not taking it deep, but they're just taking it in spots that's hard to get out, especially when you're having to use a little bit smaller jig head. There we go. That's the thing about it too. When you got a lot of weeds like this, it's a lot better to use. In fact, I got to change this body. You'll see right here, it's chewed up. You can see there, it's chewed up. But you want to use a smaller jig head. In fact, with any of this, you want to get by with as small a weight as you can. Anyway, I'm going to change this, and then I'll be back here. Got another one. We're taking them very aggressively. And he's, you know, again, they're not, there he is. Not huge, but good enough. As you can tell, we moved again, and this time I'm using a beef fishing pulsar. And that's what I just caught that one on. Try to make some more casts. We got a ton of grass carp out here. I don't know if you can see them or not, but there's about 8 to 10 of them right out here in this area. And maybe that's kind of stirring things up. And because it's kind of funny, when we were in that other area, I was getting more hits on that natural forage bait drop shad. Where here, I've been, before camera and all that, I've been getting hits on this little swim bait. And by the way, it's oyster color. I really like that color. And I'm going to see if I can get it. Fishing this around these pockets of weeds is really, really tough. I have to go down in and then come up, and a lot of times the hits are just as I come up on one side of it. So let's see what happens. Small bass. Now that's a small one. This is pepper size. That pepper's waddling out here to take a look. Pepper, this is your size, see? Yeah, that's your size. Should we put him back? Yeah. Fell over a hole, yeah. See? There we go. That wind don't help matters. Now fish handling school that is not, I guarantee you. That is not a way to handle fish, what I just did. And you never like bringing them in on a line like that. Again, they took it just about the same way every time. I got him right on the outside of a weed area. There we go. See, Pepper? That was one of the reasons I grabbed the fish like I did, because I knew Pepper was coming over. No, he wasn't going to grab the fish, but you never know what happens if that hook comes out. While we're talking about fishing with a dog like Pepper, Pepper's used to this now. But, you know, if you ever take your pet fishing, make sure that you don't play with your lures with them. I've known people that have taken their spinnerbait skirts, and in the house they're sorting, like especially in the winter or whatever, and they're playing around with their cats or dogs, and then they take them fishing, usually not the cat, but the dog. And the dog's a puppy, and he's learning that way. Then when he grows up further and you get him in the boat and you want to try to train him there, he's not going to know from playing with that spinnerbait skirt, or I even heard of one person using a crankbait without hooks on it and dragging it across the floor. Yeah, a dog's not going to know the difference. So don't do that. If you're going to take your animal fishing with you, make sure that they learn from the beginning. If you're sorting your tackle box and they come up and start nosing the lures, that's a no. Pepper has pretty much learned that. He doesn't bother the lures. He'd rather look at the fish. And he's one that, as you know, if you watch the videos, he likes to bark until you turn him back. But he's older now and he's not doing that barking anymore. Every now and then he'll let out a yap about it, and he gets excited sometimes, usually over bluegills. And well, let's get some more excitement as far as catching fish, see what happens. They are definitely on these little weed islands that are out here, and they're on the sides of them, and that's what I'm doing to catch them. And again, I'm getting them on the swim bait. I wanted to switch over to another, maybe even a little killer on that other rod, that B&M rod, but right now I'm catching them on this. I'm going to keep doing that until we see otherwise. That's a little better bass than that time. He hit it right off of those weeds. Yeah, that's not too bad of a bass. That's more about when I'm looking for that, and of course bigger. So again, that was on the bee fishing Pulsar, and here you got it hooked up here. They got a pretty doggone stiff body to them, which makes it nice. I mean, as much fishing as I've done with that, you can see that body's still going good, the tail's still swimming good, and it's a little bit smaller than my natural forage bait swim bait that I use. And it's got just a slightly different action. This has also got a little bit of a ribbed area to it. So like if I put my kicking bass on it, that will hold a little bit different, but natural forage baits already has kicking bass inside of it. So either way, you get the dosage of it. And I'm casting into, there's kind of a little cove here. I've been coming along here, but I'm getting these fish right out of the weeds. Some of the times I'm running right through. I'd love to run a rattle trap around this. I know I'd nail fish, but it's just too many pockets here and there, and short pockets. Rattle trap wouldn't work. It's make it a lot easier to cast on this rig if it's a little bit heavier lure. I'm going to switch back to the bee fishing, or rather the B&M rod, and what that has. Well, what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to put a little killer on there. We'll find out. After I get this bag, I'll take a look. So bear with me. This is where I like to have my little. This is actually a spinnerbait bag. These little slots here, by the way, are things to put stuff in like this. But I use this as my finger jigging bag. And I've done a video on this before telling you about it. And see, I've got all my natural forage baits in there. I've got some of my topped jig heads. And if you'll notice, if you can see that, these are all plain. They're not colored bee fishing heads. They're just plain ones. And I've got a regular spinnerbait pouch on that, where the rest are all this other way. And you know, I'm not sure what I'm going to put on this. Maybe a fat shad? See what a fat shad will do. What's a fat shad? Well, it's similar to a T-shad, just fatter. Right there. That's fat shad. And in fact, I'm going to try the green one that I just pulled out. I think this is a baby bass, they call it, something like that. Yep, this is a baby bass. So, well, there it is right there, little fat shad. And I've been having a lot of bluegills. I had bluegills that weren't on camera. And for some reason, they've been hitting the bigger drop shad. We're going to try this, since I got an empty head on that. Let's see. I think I've got an 1/8 ounce head. I think so. know, I got a 3 30-second ounce heads. That's a nice thing about these. You probably can't see that, but on the bottom of them, on the B-Fish and H2O heads, they have got the weight marked on them. So if you know that they're hitting on an 1/8, you can look through your tackle box, find an 1/8 or whatever. I noticed that my line's starting to get a little frayed, so it'll be about my luck I'll get something big on here and it'll break off. So I'm going to do an amateur trick of not retying, which is stupid, but I'm still doing it. Because, let's see what this will do. I think this fat shad just might work pretty good, unless it drops too fast into the weed. We'll find out. Well, I got one on that fat shad. Wasn't too bad of a fish, but again, it was on that fat shad, and I've been casting out their ways. Again, they're on those weeds. There's no doubt about that, which would make sense. They normally are. Go, another one. And he was right in that pocket I was talking about. We're going to talk a little bit here about weed islands. This is the type of video I like to do. I really don't know what I'm planning on. I just go out, I fish, hope to catch something, and along the way some thoughts jump into my head. Well, weed islands are a thing that are shaped pretty much just like an island does, weed islands. And they have their points that will taper down in. They have their little coves. They have everything that a regular island would have. The only difference is they're built out of weeds. And out here, I'm fishing that one right now that you just see me catch that last fish on. And I'm finding I'm getting more strikes towards the point area, the tapered point area. That out there, that island is coming down like this. Well, as it's coming down like that, it starts disappearing, going down in more in the water. So it's got just like a normal earthen point. This will have the same sort of a thing, and that's what I'm doing. I'm finding those fish are more so on that. I'm getting a lot of hits that I'm not getting the fish on camera, but it's going down that way. The larger fish, right now, I feel that the larger fish may be up in the really, really shallow water, and I haven't gone up there. Like I said, they got that part of the lake pretty much blocked off. And about way, man, that's good, because it's coming up to the spawning time. If they keep people out of those nesting areas, because I know that's a nesting area, they'll have a pretty good spawn, because I really think this lake needs it. The size, we used to catch a lot of 2 to 5 pound bass. That's not being seen anymore. Anyway, I'm still fishing this area. Hopefully I'll get something, and I may even move. I might go to a different spot. I really don't know. I'd like to have my boat out there right now, even though the wind. Now that's one of the problems I'm having. I'll cast out there, and that wind will catch it, and it'll either push it back or it'll take it up into the air. It's just one of those type of winds that you get that's a gusty one. And when you're fishing those type, I like to actually fish the crosswind and side cast into it. Keep it low so that the wind is blowing it, but it'll blow it down, and sometimes you can make a good cast, and then you might have a few really bad ones, but that's what I like to do with it. So let's make some more casts out here and see what I can find. Well, you can see what we've done. This was just more or less for the fun of it. Pepper and I was getting out. I haven't been fishing for a while. I've been doing a lot on the shoot and plink side of things, so if you're a target shooter, plinker and that, air guns, firearms, or whatever, you might want to tune into some of those. But on the fishing side, just haven't been out at all. The weather's been absolutely terrible. As far as cold, water temperature's been way down, now it's coming up. And today it's in the 90s, so I mean, to go from 40s to 90s, that's a big jump. Way below normal to above normal. So fishing's even a little bit different that way. But, and that's one reason I did this, just for the fun of it, to see what we get. And this is the sort of fishing videos I like to do, is, yes, there are some that we do that are planned, such as we might be talking about some products like the Plano or the Frable products, just like I showed you a little bit ago, that bag that I put together for finger jigging. That is actually a Plano wrap for spinnerbaits, not for what I've done it with, but it works, and it works good. And a lot of other things too that we do, and those are specific product type things we're talking about. Same way with fishing. We might go out and say, hey, we're going to catch them on rattle traps, or we're going to catch them on blitz blades, or whatever. We're definitely targeting that. No, this was a for the fun of it. Just, I had a feeling they might hit on the natural forage bait and the bee fish and soft plastics. They have some. In fact, I really think that if I'd be using a jerk shad, that might even work better in some of these weeds, and I might do that later, and we'll actually do a video more targeted towards that. But right now, as I said, we just wanted to do this. Pepper and I were out here fishing, and he's underneath the vehicle right now, getting some shade, because as I said, it is in the 90s. So until next time, get out on the water and have a great day of fishing.